Welcome everybody to MFSN the Hub.
It's a mouthful.
So I'm live from La La Land with Flat to the Bone, Kasey Scheinfold. Kasey, say hello to everybody from Pennsylvania.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Your costume is classic. I love that look. That's the greatest look I've ever seen. I love it. I just want to tell everybody, what are you going for today in Halloween?
I am going for comfort.
Comfort. I like it. Okay. So let's talk NFL. A lot of action today, Kasey Scheinfold. The trade deadline just ended as we speak. Tell me some of your favorite moves some of the teams have done over the day, let's say, or last night, including that also.
There's a couple. I really like Josh Dobbs going to the Vikings because, as we know, one of the biggest stories over the weekend was Kirk Cousins also suffering Achilles ruptured.
Oh, that killed me, Kasey. I have him in our dynasty league. It killed me when I saw that.
I think Dobbs at least gives them somebody serviceable. I know we talk about a quarterback changing teams midseason and how difficult it is to ramp up, but if I remember correctly, O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, was with the Browns before he took that job, and that's where Dobbs was in the offseason. So he might have some familiarity already with sort of the lingo and the playbook a little bit. So
Hall's going to start. Hall, the rookie from BYU, for the first start on Sunday, and then I think Dobbs will take over after that. I think that was a good move on their part, and the Cardinals are just going with their rookie. They're happy with, and I have no idea when Murray's coming back. I have no clue. I thought it'd be this week, but I was wrong.
No, they're targeting week 10 for him to come back.
Week 10. Well, there you go. And who knows how he'll be. I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to target a quarterback in the draft and they'll trade Murray. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to audition him for the last 7 weeks of the season so that they can get some trade value out of him. That's why they're throwing him out there. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, there weren't a lot of other big trades. The Lions acquired Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird pickup just because the Lions have a lot of
wide receivers are good. Yeah, but
they have Reynolds, they have Johnson, they have St. Brown, of course. I mean, they have a lot of good receivers.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they don't have a big contested catch guy on the outside, and maybe they're looking for that. I'm not sure. But other than that, I like that my Giants traded Leonard Williams to the Eagles just because they got a second-round pick for it, which I'm grateful for.
And Chase Young going to the 49ers.
Chase Young to the 49ers and Montez Sweat to the Bears. So Washington, technically at 3-5, they're not even out of the playoffs, as sad as that sounds, but they sent up the flag.
Well, they sent their two best players away. I mean, I don't know how Rivera tells this team, okay, guys, we're trying to compete for this year. They're not. They got rid of their two best players, even though I always felt that Sweat never really played up to his potential quite yet. I mean, I think he's really good. But I just feel that
and Chase Young was the number 2 overall pick.
He's number 2. People were comparing to Lawrence Taylor. His rookie season was his best one. He just cannot stay healthy, Kasey.
Yeah, he's doing well this year. I
think he has 3 sacks. He's not doing that great.
Yeah, I think that was a bad trade for Washington to only get a 3rd-round pick for Chase.
6 rounds, 7. I mean, I don't get the whole trading for 6 rounders for these players who are established in the NFL, but I guess they just want to cut salary. I get it. Well, let's talk waiver wire, Kasey Scheinfold. It's almost done. I mean, the waiver wire, I was scouting some of the waiver wire leagues I'm in, and it's slim pickings, baby. It's slim pickings. I mean, there's not much out there. My son is in a league, and he sent me Dad, who should I pick up? And he sent me pictures of the waiver wire who's available. And the only one I told him to pick up was Quentin Johnston for the Chargers because Palmer got hurt. He was on one leg hobbling around during that game. So I think Palmer's out for a while, I imagine.
Yeah, and then Johnston becomes the number 2 behind Keenan Allen.
So the only guy I told him to pick up was Quentin Johnston in his league because everybody else was garbage. But Kasey, who are you targeting this week? And tell me, who should people pick up this week?
Well, I mean, at quarterback, obviously everybody's going to go and get Will Levis because he had maybe the greatest midseason first game of a rookie ever.
4 touchdowns. How many yards?
And he single-handedly made DeAndre Hopkins relevant again. So good for him.
3 touchdowns for DeAndre Hopkins. You and I were bad-mouthing him like we usually do when players don't perform where they should. He's relevant. You're 100% right. I mean, he was dropped in a couple of my leagues too, which I'm trying to pick him up in a couple of my leagues right now just because I think Levis gets it, that this guy should get the ball a lot more than 3 or 4 catches a game. So Levis, for any quarterback under 60%, he's your number 1 target right now.
Well, I think my number 1 target is probably still Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Just because, like, they just traded Dobbs. Clayton Tune is going to start this weekend. Kyler Murray should be available the week after that, and he's dual threat. Levis, at his best, is what he was this week, which was 4 touchdowns. And even with 4 touchdowns, it's only 26 fantasy points, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong, but we're used to seeing the Josh Allens, the Jalen Hurts, the Patrick Mahomes put in the 30s somewhere. And Kyler Murray, if he gets hot with his rushing, can do that. So he's probably my number 1 quarterback, but Will Levis is number 2 and Sam Howell, probably number 3, because Howell played great against the Eagles, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns. And he's had 18 plus points in 5 of the last 7 games. So he's going up against the Patriots on Sunday and then the Seahawks the following week. So that's not a bad place to look for a quarterback.
No, I like Thurston Howell III. I think he is the bright spot of the Commanders this year. Even though like Brian Robinson has done nothing. The receiving core is okay. And Logan Thomas is up and down. But if I had to pick one offensive player on the Commanders, it would probably be Howell. Just because people were really expecting this big year out of this guy. And Rivera, he's trusting him. He's letting the guy throw. I mean, he's just not handing the ball up every play now. He's letting
now he's going to let him do even more because he just gave up on the season by trading his 2 best defensive players. So.
Yeah, I think he's out of a job at the end of the season, unfortunately. I like Riverboat Ron. I think he's a good coach. I think he gets the best out of his players. But with this
sneaky quarterback, by the way.
Ooh, I like this. When you say sneaky, my ears perk up. What is it?
Taylor Heineke.
Taylor Heineke?
Atlanta.
He's still in the league? We're not. No, I'm just kidding. Tell me why.
He replaced Ritter to start the second half in Sunday's game. He threw a touchdown pass and actually averaged 8.3 yards per attempt, which was mountains more than Desmond Ritter's been able to do. He was, so for whatever reason, if he gets the nod this week against the Vikings, I consider him an interesting one because
I agree.
We know he's got good weapons in Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. If he's willing to take more risks and be more creative than Desmond Ritter is, it could make the people around him more valuable too.
Did you know, I read this yesterday that with a week coming up, there's going to be 11 new starting quarterbacks that didn't start during the season, beginning of the season. 11.
Yeah.
I mean,
that just shows you how many injuries there were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, why is it, the reason why you take the backup in certain leagues, if it's a big league, is for that reason.
Yeah. We usually talk handcuffs for running backs. I guess next season, in the preseason, we're going to have to talk quarterback handcuffs because of what's happened this year.
I agree. I mean, I have Hurts in the league. I took Mariota, obviously. I have Brissett in the league because I have Howell in one of my leagues. I mean, so I've been doing it for a little bit in big leagues that are like, 14 teams, let's say, that are super flex, that you got to take a lot of players. But I think next season we should talk about what backups to pick up, because I think Stafford's, is a whole laundry list of people that are playing the next week. Stafford, I don't even know who's starting.
Well, in the bye weeks, and now we're back to bye weeks again. So there's no Denver, there's no Detroit. You're talking some pretty big teams.
There's 4 teams on bye weeks: Denver, Detroit, Jackson. I know. Yep. Lawrence Taylor. So Taylor Lawrence. So let's talk about running backs. It's slim pickings out there.
Yeah, but running backs is where it's the hardest.
I know you have one or two. I know you have somebody. And
you can look at Amari DiMercato. He didn't have a great day. He did manage to get
20 touches, didn't he?
And 78 yards against the Ravens, which is not an easy defense to run against. At least he's getting the volume. It's a tough matchup. They're going against the Browns this week. The Browns have been brutal to run on, except for the Colts, who ran like all over him. But he's got to get rostered, right? If he's getting the majority of the carries, And you can always do Gus the Bus, right?
You can always do Gus the Bus. He looked great last week. I mean, he was getting the ball. He was scoring touchdowns. I mean, he looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
What is he? How many? What's his percentage? What does he own?
53%.
Okay, so he's somebody that I would want to pick up, obviously, if he's available. You know, there's a lot of players that are requesting trades. What's your take on Devontae Adams? Do you think the Raiders are going to trade him?
Nope.
Or just let him die?
I think they're going to let him die on the vine, which is sad because could you imagine getting him to the Chiefs or getting him to pick a team that needs a receiver, right?
I mean, for him just to get one
getting him
catch,
to the Browns,
one catch on Monday night.
It's a sin. It should be. I mean, it's a reason Josh McDaniels should be out of a job. That alone.
I agree. And do you see how many times he was like overthrown and he missed the pass?
Yeah. It's just,
I mean, the only good news is that Pickett is going to play on Thursday night for the Steelers. That's good news.
So let me ask you about this running back. The Bills just signed Leonard Fournette. Now, Damian Harris is hurt. Latavius Murray has been ineffective lately. What do you think about adding him and once he gets up to being their backup, their number 2 behind Cook in a couple weeks?
I think it's a good move. I mean, I think Fournette, even though he's probably not in playing shape right now, but he will be in a couple weeks. I think it's a good move. The Bills want to run the ball. They don't want to be dependent on the pass. And, you know, I think if they get him in shape and get him in some type of form where he was like a couple years ago. Yeah. I think it's
he's only like 26, 27.
Yeah.
He's not even that old.
I agree. And I think that, you know, it's a good pickup. If you have the room in your roster, I don't think it's a bad idea, especially with the amount of running backs that are relevant that are on waiver wire. There's really not much unless you get lucky. Did you see the breakout game Gibbs had last night?
Yes. Look, I was down 45 points in one of my leagues, but I had St. Brown, Laporta, and Gibbs, and I ended up pulling it out. So I was pretty happy. I think that might have been against you, Ross.
Probably. I'm sure you did. I'm sure it's against me. I have the worst luck ever. So Zach Charbonneau, did I say it right? UCLA UCLA standout. Now a Seahawk. Got some touches, got some yards, Kasey Scheinfeld. What's your thoughts on him? Walker's a little banged up. So
yeah, Walker's nursing a calf injury.
Yeah.
Look, they used a second round pick on Charbonnet. So I don't think you use a second round pick to not give him the run. I think, you know, I'm a Kenneth Walker owner in our dynasty league and in one of our other leagues, but Charbonnet scares me. I think he could take 10 to 12 touches a game away from him and be a factor in the passing game also.
He's available in a lot of leagues, Kasey. I mean,
if I had Kenneth Walker and he was available, I would use most of my fab budget to make sure I got that handcuff.
So he's somebody that you're targeting that you would like to pick up this week. And again, if you're in 10 per people leagues, let's say, he's available in a lot of those leagues. I mean, he really is, because he has done nothing this season till last week. So I would target him for sure. I'll say a name. You tell me yay or nay of picking him up. Ready?
Yep.
Darrell Henderson.
Nay.
Chuba Hubbard.
Yes.
Okay. You love this guy. I know the answer, but I just love when you talk about him for 2 minutes. Tyjae Spears.
I love that kid. Yeah. I mean, I was one of the ones that was hoping the Browns would have convinced the Titans to give them Derrick Henry, because I just think as good as Kareem Hunt, Pierre Strong, and Jerome Ford have been as a three-headed monster for them, you give them Derrick Henry behind that offensive line, and I think they're the favorite in the AFC North, but awesome. They didn't. But Tyjae Spears is still getting 50% of the snaps. And so if they're going to Will Levis to see if he can be the guy going forward, I think you're going to see Tyjae Spears get a lot more involved too.
Ooh, you heard that from Kasey Scheinfeld first. Cam Akers.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
I would, if I was hurting at running back, I think he's going to overtake Alexander Mattison, who's been nothing but atrocious in his time. I think Dobbs actually helps Cam Akers because Dobbs is a little bit of a mobile quarterback. So it gives defenses two people to look at in the backfield, and that kind of helps him. So Yes, I would consider him.
Okay. Well, I have more, but I don't want to bore the audience. Wide receivers, Kasey Scheinfeld. Tell me who you're targeting this week.
I'm still confused why Josh Downs is still only 54% rostered. He's a top 15 wideout over the last 4 games.
He plays in a small market team, and
13
nobody
plus
trusts his
points
quarterback
in those games.
Yeah.
The last 2 have come against good defenses in the Saints and the Browns. Next, he goes up against the Panthers and the Patriots, who are also tough for wide receivers, but it doesn't matter because he gets open and he catches the ball. I'm shocked by that. Rashee Rice is finally over that threshold, thankfully. And you talked about Quentin Johnston with Josh Palmer getting hurt. This is Mike Williams 2.0, if you ask me, kind of the same body type, same playing style. And he looked very good, getting 6 targets, catching 5 of them for 50 yards Sunday night against who did they play Sunday night? The Bears, against the Bears. So
Bears.
I like him. I also, if you're desperate, Demario Douglas, the rookie in New England, could be worth a shot. If Kendrick Bourne has been a very good fantasy wide receiver all year.
And he's hurt, right?
Or his ACL.
Yeah.
And he's out for the season. So
it could be a good pickup, but I wouldn't pick up anybody in the Patriots. I don't trust that team at all.
I don't either, but I'm saying if you're desperate.
I mean, I love when they lose. I love when Belichick does those press conferences and you just know he's just biting his lip. I love it. You didn't bring up this guy's name, which I'm shocked. He's available in 36. He's available in 74% of leagues right now, which is shocking.
Osborne?
No, he's playing against the Bears on Sunday, Kasey Scheinfeld, and he is Rashid Shaheed.
Oh, I love Rashid Shaheed. You're right.
And when I say his name, your eyes light up.
Yeah,
your eyes light
up.
up.
He's the guy I want in best ball because he's a boomer bust. Like what do you have? 120 yards and a touchdown.
Unbelievable.
But it was only on 3 catches. So if he doesn't break a long one,
well, you heard Derek Carr tell him like 3 weeks ago they were losing and they had him mic'd up, and Derek Carr just said, "Listen, just go deep and I'll hit you," and he did.
Rashid Shaheed is a smart receiver and he's crazy fast. He might be the fastest guy on that team. I was hoping they were going to trade Michael Thomas, but they didn't. But yeah, I love Rashid Shaheed. I don't always trust Derek Carr. I thought you were going to mention Tank Dell, who's still available.
He's still under 6%. Kasey Scheinfeld, I don't get it. I know he did not have a good week this week, which is good.
But it was his first game back from injury,
which is good for fantasy owners because now people are not going to go try to get him. They might even drop him. I like Tank Dell, even though they lost this week. I still like Tank Dell. I think he is a legit number 2 wide receiver in this league. And there's no reason if he's available in your league, he'll be top of my list to pick up. I believe in that kid. Jahan Dotson, what do you think? Yay or nay?
I'm a Penn State guy, so I like Dotson.
Yeah, you didn't even go to Penn State. You went to Maryland. So why do you you live there? That's what.
And Dotson has a great catch radius. They're finally involving him again. It bodes well because Sam Howell improves, I think you're going to see all of his fantasy assets improve too.
I agree.
Jahan Dotson is one of them.
I like the Commanders playbook. Actually, they've been throwing the ball a lot. Tyler Boyd at Cincinnati, yay or nay?
Yes. Although now that Joe Burrow is back, by the way, congratulations to your Bengals.
3 in a row. Yeah,
they're playing like the Bengals of old or Bengals
beat San Francisco and Santa Clara. Yep, I watched it.
I don't think. I mean, he caught a touchdown this week, but I was hoping they would trade T. Higgins when they were underperforming. But now that they're playing well, T. Higgins wasn't going to go anywhere. That certainly caps his value because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are also target dominant players, but you can do worse. The guy was the number 1 before those 2 guys were drafted and did a nice job. So
anybody else fantasy wise that I should be looking at on wide receivers that you are targeting?
The only one who I might consider who's getting kind of a little bit more involved, but isn't there because we talk about rookies. The second half of the season is when you see him take off is Jackson Smith-Njigba in Seattle. If he is getting more and more involved, he could be pretty intriguing come the week 13.
He had a touchdown too. I watched Seattle. I watched him score this weekend. That kid's fast. Wow.
Yeah, and he's a smooth route runner.
He's faster than me, I'll tell you that much. Tight ends, Kasey Scheinfeld. I know we hate talking about tight ends. I don't like it.
Like the last 3 weeks, Do you know who the number 2 tight end in football is the last 3 weeks?
Well, let me think.
Behind only Travis Kelce?
Is it our cover guy?
It is. I mean,
tell us why you have him on the
Taysom
cover
Hill,
this week.
He's the hardest fantasy asset to predict because
Tell
he
me.
might get it throwing, he might get it rushing, he might get it receiving, right? He had a 22-point performance Sunday with 63 rushing yards and a pair of touchdowns. Like, he is dynamic. He's he's as boom or bust as it gets, but at this point they're using him so much over the last 3 or 4 weeks that you have to add him.
Isn't it crazy how like they go through coaches and you would think a coach would just say, listen, you're going to play tight end and that's it. You're not going to play quarterback or not going to go out for pass, whatever. But they use him as like, they use him for everything. I mean, he's a wide receiver. He's a tight end. He's a quarterback. I mean, this guy does everything possible. Yep. And you don't see that in football that much anymore. I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife, this guy. He's unbelievable. So if he's available in the league, do you pick him up and start him at tight end?
Yeah, especially, I mean, he's ranked above Kyle Pitts right now. Logan Thomas, he's doing better than
there you go.
Some of these guys, other than Kelce, Hawkinson, and Kittle. Can you honestly tell me that other tight ends are more reliable? I mean, have a higher ceiling than this guy?
Well, let me tell you what happened to this Arizona Cardinal tight end over the weekend.
Yeah, I know.
So Trey McBride, who's playing tight end right now almost every snap because Zach Ertz. I like Zach Ertz. I'm upset that he's out for the year. But this guy had 10 receptions, Kasey Scheinfeld, for 95 yards and even scored.
Yeah.
For the Arizona Cardinals. I know the Cardinals are in disarray. I know they're a bad team, but somebody has to score. Is Trey McBride on the list? If you can pick him up and
he was my number 2 on the list. I worry now that Dobbs is gone and they're starting Looney
Tunes, we call him in the business.
I don't know how much that's going to hurt his stock.
Of course it's going to hurt his stock. It's starting a rookie that I couldn't pick out in a police lineup. I mean, of course it's going to hurt. Yes. Yeah. But I still think
Elias,
yes. How are you?
Laporta and Kincaid are great. Laporta's on a bye this week and over 60% owned, and I think Kincaid is over 60% owned as well.
He is. Kincaid.
That's why we're not
skyrocketing last week.
But we agree with you that they're definitely.
Yeah, I picked up Kincaid last week in one of my leagues. It was a great pickup because he scored a touchdown and had some yards. So let's talk more tight end. Kasey Scheinfeld. I'll say a name, you say yeah or nay. Logan Thomas.
Yes.
Jake Ferguson.
Yes. Although he's more touchdown dependent, but I like him. He caught a touchdown last week.
Because it's Halloween, I'll say Michael Mayer.
Of course. He's going against the Giants.
I know, but I'm just saying because it's Halloween and he has that cool Halloween name, Michael Mayer. I know it's not the exact name, but it's close enough. Tyler Conklin of the Jets.
Oh,
going against the Chargers this week.
I don't think so. But I would like the other guys a lot better than him. But if I'm desperate, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a position that I always rotate every season. I don't keep the same defense every week. I rotate the heck out of it. Kasey Scheinfeld. My number one defense this week is the Packers.
Really?
The Packers are playing the Rams. The Rams are in Green Bay. I just feel Stafford's not going to play. They'll probably play the rookie quarterback. Is he playing or who? I don't know who's the starter. I don't know who's starting for them this week.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
I have to look at it too. But anybody who's starting in Green Bay for their first game is a tough. It's very tough. Just remember, Stafford's not playing. It's me turnover city, and I guarantee Green Bay will get a defensive touchdown. Guarantee.
They were my number 3.
Okay, give me your top 3. Go.
Cleveland Browns against Arizona with Clayton Tune as the starting quarterback. I think
love it.
They're going to eat them.
But the problem with that is I'm sure Cleveland is over 60%, but keep going.
Yep. And I like I have Cleveland at 42%. Right.
Oh, I like that better now. Okay, good.
I actually like the Tennessee Titans this week going against Pittsburgh.
I do too. It's at Pittsburgh, but I don't care. And it's a Thursday night game, and Thursday night games are sloppy.
And so I don't mind that one. Nobody can run on them, and they don't have effective running backs anyway.
Falcons at home against Minnesota. What do you think about that game? Rookie of a rookie starting. If no Justin Jefferson,
didn't the Falcons just give up? Was that who scored the 4 touchdowns? How Will Levis just threw 4 touchdowns again?
Yeah, he did. But the Falcons are like a team that I can't figure out. They're either really, really good and they play a great game, or they're horrible. So I can't figure that team out at all.
Yeah.
But I just think them playing at home against Minnesota with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad play.
Yeah.
Did they trade anyone away, Atlanta?
Atlanta? No, they didn't do anything. Okay, let's talk a little about next week's games coming up, Kasey Scheinfeld. Thursday night, it's an AFC special. It's Tennessee against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, Kasey. Pittsburgh is 3-point favorites. It's a 36 over-under, which is a low-scoring game. It's low scoring. Tennessee plays good defense usually, not all the time.
Yeah,
and Pickett's playing. Who do you start fantasy-wise in this game? Henry. I think Henry and Hopkins you have to, right?
Yeah, Henry and Hopkins you have to. I think on Pittsburgh, if Deontay Johnson is playing, he and George Pickens have to also be started because Tennessee has been pretty bad against the pass.
Horrible.
They're stout against the run. But is it going to be Trubisky or Kenny Pickett? We're not exactly sure yet.
They said Pickett said he's playing. And that's what I've been saying all show. So but I don't think it matters. I think Pickens should have I think Pickens is a must start, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the only must start on it's Henry and Hopkins on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Hopkins is a must start, but it looks like at least Will Levis likes throwing to him even when they're contested, and that's what Hopkins made his living doing, is those contested catches at their apex.
Do you see Will Levis having a good game against Pittsburgh?
I don't. I mean, I could see 240 yards and maybe a touchdown and an interception, or 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. It's going to be a short week for him, and it's going to be TJ Watt coming at him all day, and that can get in your head.
Let's talk about this. Game's in Germany on Sunday, Kasey Scheinfeld. And if you want to watch it, you gotta wake up at 9:30. It's usually on like NFL Network or.
You don't need the YouTube football package.
I don't know. You could be right. Let me just check. It's on. They don't say here. NFL Network. I was right. NFL Network.
Oh, good.
Ross the Boss is right again. So it's Kansas City against Miami. That's a great matchup, Kasey. It's
that's the most fun to watch.
The over-under is 50 points.
Yeah.
Kansas City's favored by 2.5. Kansas City lost to Denver last week. Just remember that. I mean, they lost to Denver.
I'm not sure why they're the favorite. I guess it's the Mahomes effect and the Kelsey effect.
I like Miami. It's a neutral site, Kasey Scheinfeld. I like Miami. I think they're more hungry. Tyreek Hill's going against his old team. I think he'll have a huge game fantasy-wise. You got to start him. You got to start Waddle. I say Waddle. You do the Waddle. Go, Waddle. Okay, good. You start Waddle. You start Mohik Mustard. I guess you start him.
If most starts playing, you start him.
You start him. And then
and Tua,
and then Holmes. What other receivers instead of Kelsey do you start on the?
The only one I would consider is Rashee Rice, and that depends on
you love Rashee Rice. He's the rookie, and he does get the ball, but it's just like
he's not reliable. There's not a wide receiver.
It's a guessing game. I'm so happy I don't have any receivers. I have Kelsey.
Yeah, I wish Kansas City had traded for a wide receiver.
We got a question. Why don't you read it? Brad, welcome to the party.
Brad wants to know about this trade. Hey, Brad. He traded Aaron Jones and Tyler Lockett for Tony Pollard.
Great trade. Great trade. Go ahead, Giz.
Pollard's been disappointing so far this season. He had a better game last week. But if they get him more involved in the passing game so they can get him in space, he's not a between the tackles runner. I think they learned that. He's a change of pace guy if you're running him inside. So I think if they use him better, you're going to win that trade pretty handily, because from an offensive perspective, other than week 1, or Aaron Jones has been pretty bad, and Jordan Love has regressed, which makes him even less valuable.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's offense is just horrendous. I don't want anybody.
Geno Smith hasn't been that reliable. And
no, he's never got.
There's a lot
overrated.
of mouths to feed in Seattle. So
overrated. Geno Smith. Green Bay's offense is a joke. And I agree. That's a good trade. And I see Pollard. I see you sitting down at Thanksgiving watching Pollard having 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what I foresee for you. So there you go. Good job. So the Chiefs Dolphins, I agree with you. You can't really start any of the receivers except Kelsey.
I might throw some kickers out there. If you're playing kickers, those would be 2 teams. I might look at the kickers.
I mean, I know I say it every week, but I hate these like foreign games when they play in Germany, play in London.
Well, for you, it's like at 3 a.m.
Mexico City. Yeah, no, it's 6:30 a.m.
Yeah. For me, at least it's 9.
I'm actually up that time, but I might turn it on. But I just I just hate when they play in those foreign cities. I don't. The NFL just wants to expand all over the world. I get it. They want to sell merch. They want to have a team in London. They want to move Jacksonville to London. I get the whole thing. But why do you boring the American audience and moving the games overseas? Don't just give them a team then. I don't care. But just don't take away a home game from a team in America and play them in Europe. It's just not fair to the fans. Rams, Green Bay. I don't like. I don't
like anybody.
Cooper Kupp. What happens to his value, Casey Scheinfeld? Stafford's out. Does Kupp's value go down a lot?
It goes down. I don't think it goes down a lot because.
Okay. How about Puka?
Puka's value probably goes down more. It depends. Do you trust the rookie to make multiple reads?
Is that who's starting? We figured out who's starting it, or is Stafford for sure out? They've been quiet about it here in LA. I can't get any info, but I'll find out tomorrow when the injury reports. That's the problem, is the injury reports come out tomorrow. So we don't have the updated information that we should. The Commanders, Patriots, Howell, I guess. No one on the Patriots. I start. Tampa Bay is at Houston. I think I see some scoring in that game. What do you think, Casey? Tampa Bay and Houston.
They're saying Brett Ripien right now is projected as the starter at Green Bay for
Brett Ripien. I think he's related to Mark Ripon, right?
I'm sure he is a nephew or something. Yeah. But so you were saying Houston and Tampa
Houston's
Bay?
At home against Tampa Bay. As you know, I love Baker Mayfield. I really do.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud has been pretty.
CJ Stroud's been, but he didn't score any points last week, and it's Carolina's horrible defense.
I don't like that game much at all from a fantasy.
I don't either.
Rashad White just had a good game. Do we think he's going to keep it up? I don't know. Mike Evans, you got to start. If you have him,
he's a stud. He really is. Every year we always say, he's over the hill. He's not going to.
He's not going to be reliable anymore. I agree with you.
And he does. Arizona is in Cleveland. That's a great survival pool pick. Cleveland. Everybody I know is
everybody's
Cleveland.
Picking Cleveland. Yeah.
And I hope Arizona beats them, because I'm not taking Cleveland in our survivor pool. Just so you know, I'm not taking Cleveland. I think that's a sucker bet, so I'm not doing it. But Cleveland is starting their PJ Walker's their starting quarterback. You got to start Hunt. I like Hunt a lot.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, there you go.
The
Bears are in New Orleans. New Orleans is my survivor pool pick. Everybody, just so everybody knows, I do that early on Tuesday because I always forget. I'm taking the Saints. I think the Saints will roll on the Bears. The Bears. I'm not taking anybody in the Bears. How about that?
If you think Deontay
I'm staying away.
Can do it, but they were disappointing.
They were sharing the ball, and with Foreman wasn't getting them. It was just a committee. It was horrible. And that quarterback they have, I like him. I like his dad. I love the story. I went to Division III. I love the whole thing, but he shouldn't be starting in the NFL. That's the reality of it, guys. I'm sorry. So let's talk. Seattle is at Baltimore. Baltimore's playing really good football. Casey Scheinfeld.
They've put it together.
Justice Hill, what do you think about him?
I like Gus Edwards better.
Okay.
I think Justice Hill is more of a handcuff at this point, or more of at best, a low flex. Obviously Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, you're going to start.
Good.
And they're playing Seattle.
You got to start Walker, I guess.
You got to start Walker if he's healthy. If he's playing, you got to start DK Metcalf if you have him.
Yep. Okay.
Outside of that, maybe Lockett too if you have him. All right, here we go. I got a question for you, Ross. Randy Miller, how you doing, Randy? Do you want to start Jerome Ford versus Arizona, Chuba Hubbard versus Houston, or Roshan versus New Orleans in a PPR? I'm going Chuba. Actually, If Jerome Ford is healthy, I'm probably taking Jerome Ford.
Ford's my first look. Chuba gets Chuba's volume is down. I mean, I watched him; his volume's down, and Rashawn wants to be traded. I mean, he wants out of Chicago
already. Rashawn Johnson,
yeah, it came out today. He's not getting the ball enough, and I don't blame him.
God, he's a rookie.
It doesn't matter. These guys have these guys. When you play.
I like Chuba Hubbard against Houston as well. Ford is probably
I'm worried about volume with Chuba, but I would start Ford. Casey, who would start?
I'd probably start Ford. I would go Ford, Chuba, then Roschon.
There you go. And yeah, I'm just worried about Chuba getting the ball that much. We'll see what happens.
And Randy also wanted to point out that Kyle Walker, sorry, he plays for Man City. Kenneth Walker's schedule is getting pretty tough, and so his value is going to go down. And you're right. He's going against some tough defenses. He's already dealing with a soft tissue injury. If that lingers, it could be a bad end of the season for him.
Seattle is the
number one. They're the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Everybody was talking 49ers Super Bowl, 49ers Super Bowl. I'm like,
3 losses in a row. Yeah.
3 losses in a row. Now they're in second place.
Is Brock Montana Brock Purdy again?
We still call him Brock Montana. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
He's showing why he was the 7th round pick.
The last pick of the draft. Yeah.
Last pick of the draft. Shanahan did a great job with him, but I just don't think he's the player that everybody thinks he is. I wish the kid well. I actually like him, but I just don't think he's that great of a football player, and that's me. And I think the 49ers are going to do something during the offseason, bringing another quarterback in, especially if they don't win that division or win the NFC. There'll be a lot of heads rolling. Trust me on that one. Let's talk Minnesota, Atlanta, KC. Who are you starting in that game?
Hawkinson is probably the only one in Minnesota I'm running out there at this point until I see.
I agree.
What that offense looks
arguments.
Like. Atlanta, Bijan, you got to run out if you drafted him. I think you got to run out there Drake London if he's healthy. Yep. I know he was banged up a little.
Kyle
Pitts, I like him, but I don't know if Tyler Heineke or Desmond Ridder like him. That's the problem.
I don't think Ritter's playing. I think it's Heineke again. Indianapolis is at Carolina.
You got to start Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor had a great game last week. You got to start Jonathan Taylor and, like you said, Zach Moss.
I think Josh Downs is a must start. I think Michael Pittman played well enough to be a must start at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a huge fan of him, but he caught a touchdown.
Right. And then Carolina, who do you start?
Adam Thielen.
There you go. Dallas Cowboys. This is a great game. I know you're an NFC East guy, and you'll appreciate this. The Cowboys are at the Eagles. I'm surprised that's not like a Sunday night game. I don't know why it's not, but it's stupid. So for me, it's a 1:00 game. For you, it's 4:00.
Yep.
But Dallas, Pollard,
Dak.
I'm not a Dak fan. I would not start Dak, but that's
but everybody's been. I mean, Sam Howell just put 3 touchdowns on the Eagles.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb, Big Ferguson, Tony Pollard, and Dak.
And the Eagles. I guess
Jalen Swift, AJ Brown.
AJ Brown's the hottest receiver right now in football.
He's the best receiver in football right now. Yeah, Dallas Goedert.
He's unbelievable.
And I still think you got to run Devonta Smith out there if you have him.
I agree. Heisman Trophy winner. He just hasn't clicked at all. Every week I think he's going to have a great game.
Last year he was awesome, and this year it just hasn't happened.
Disappointing. I'm just so upset about that. Because I took him in some of our best ball leagues, and I don't know what's wrong with him. I want to shake him. The Sunday night game's pretty good too. I know I talked out of turn, but it's the Bills in the jungle in Cincinnati. The Bills are underdog in that game. That's a live game for the Bills if I was a better. But I like the Bills. I like Josh Allen, of course. I like, their running game. I mean, I think the Bills are going to have a big game fantasy-wise. I think it's going to be high scoring.
Yep.
We'll see a lot of scoring. I think Gabe Davis will have a big game. I think I'm really into second receivers this week. The number 2 options, I think, will have big games, including Devontae Smith. In the Bengals side, Higgins, Chase, Burrow.
That's it.
Joe Mixon's starting to run. He had a good game against the 49ers last week. So I'm back on the Joe Mixon bandwagon, just so you know. I'm back on it. And I think Diggs and Chase will have both will have 100 yards each. So there you go. And then we go Monday night, Casey Scheinfeld. If there's any more questions, do it now because we're almost done. the Chargers, this is like a horrible game. I mean, who's going to watch this game? The Chargers are at New York at Snoopy, and it's
both New York games are terrible. I mean, you got to start the Chargers, though. I mean, you got to start Keenan Allen, you got to start Eckler, you got to start Herbert. You're probably throwing Johnston out there if you have teams on buys this week.
I agree.
On the Jets side, I guess Breece Hall has to be started. And then Garrett Wilson, I might throw out there. I might, because you drafted him so high.
Yeah, especially with four teams on bye weeks. I guess you can start them. Kasey, I wanted to save this for the last, but I want your thoughts on the Giants Jets game.
Was that
it could have been the most sloppiest? It could have been the most sloppiest 5 minutes I've ever seen in NFL.
Was that not the worst ending to a football game ever for a Giants fan? It was.
Did you watch it live?
No, it was equivalent to when I was. There were many years ago. I think it was the early 2000s when T.O. was still on San Francisco. It might have been the late 90s.
Okay,
and there was a playoff game between the 49ers and the Giants, and T.O. scored to make it like 35-17 or something, where the Giants were still winning, and he did his touchdown celebration or his pose, and Michael Strahan goes up to him and points to the scoreboard, and lo and behold, over the next 26 minutes, they crap the bed, and the San Francisco ends up winning the game. That to me was still the most painful loss I've ever watched as a Giants fan. But to the Jets to lose that way, turning the ball over with like no time left and then giving up 82 yards in 2 plays with 26 seconds for a field goal was just, it was classic Giants. That's when I knew they should trade everybody and burn it all down and start over.
It was painful.
And now they get the Raiders. So this game is going to be no more fun to watch. I
was driving home from softball and I listened to the game on the radio. I listened to the NFL Network on Sirius XM Channel 88. And I heard the whole thing. I was just thinking in my mind, I was thinking, I hope Kasey's listening or watching this. And I had a feeling you have 2 kids. I know they're very athletic. And I had a feeling you maybe not. I hope you weren't, because I'm sure you would have like sick stomach pains, and you obviously watched the highlights and you read about it.
Right.
But I mean, those are games how coaches lose their jobs. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's horrible. It's a horrible way to lose a game, especially to the other New York team. And I mean, I saw like Jet fans leaving the stadium with like a minute left. They were leaving. Like people were leaving pissed off. Jet fans, they thought they lost the game, obviously, because when they did that field goal, I was like, what are they doing? I was like, why would you try to kick a field goal? And if you miss it, they have great field position. Either punt it and get some time off the clock or go for it, but you don't field goal it. I mean, that's the dumbest thing. And when they did that, I knew you guys lost. Sorry, Kasey. My heart.
That's okay.
But the good news is, you have basketball season. I know you're a huge basketball guy. James Harden was traded to the Clippers today. I know you're happy about that.
I am a huge basketball.
He's not, guys. That's a lie. It's a lie. I made that up.
In the Clippers right now.
I made that up. Kasey is not a basketball fan. He pretends he is.
Nope.
He's a fake, a fraud, and
I don't even pretend it.
He doesn't pretend it. He hangs up the phone when I talk basketball. So that's the show for this week. We'll be on Thursday with Dr. Dan Ratner. He'll be live at 4:30. 1:30 Pacific on MFSN. Kasey Scheinfeld, thanks for a great show. I'll be picking up those players you mentioned.
Enjoy trick-or-treating, Ross. I know you
and have a safe Halloween. I always stay home and give out candy. I stopped going out long.
Are you like a 1 for them, 1 for me kind of candy guy?
2 for them, 3 for me. I usually do.
There you go.
But I went to Costco and got a lot of candy. So
we bought the big bags.
That's what I got. I went to Costco and got the $20 huge bags of candy because we go through it like crazy here. You know what I did one year, and we'll go and we'll be done. I ordered like 2 large pizzas, right? And when the parents came by, I would give them a slice of pizza. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And they all loved it. They all loved it.
We do the cooler of alcohol for the adults and then candy for the kids. So
I'm afraid of alcohol just because I'm always afraid I'll give somebody under 21 a drink and I'll.
Oh no, we'll only do it if it's a parent.
Sometimes.
And I live in a small enough neighborhood where
you know everybody. Yeah. I forgot you live in a gated community with guards and guns.
My butler takes care of most of it.
I'm sure they do. Okay, I'm Ross the Boss. That's Flat to the Bone. We'll see you guys on Thursday, 4:30.